Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. So lately, I've become extremely optimistic that one day, sooner or later, I will become a billionaire. And I try to remind myself that every moment that goes by is one that much closer that I'll become a billionaire. And here's why I become so optimistic about it. A few reasons, actually. Number one, I often dream about stuff at night that later goes on to happen. Good dreams, bad dreams, they all seem to happen sooner or later. Some of them take years to happen, but all of them eventually come to pass. And I first noticed this when I was 8 years old, actually. I was living with my parents. My brother wasn't born yet. And one night, I had a dream that the three of us were on the road, and we all needed to use the restroom really badly. In my dream, we pulled over to a Kmart, and all three of us made a run for it into the bathroom. It was a Kmart that we used to shop at regularly, so we knew where the bathroom was. We kind of knew the drill. We all just made a run for it in the dream. And so I didn't think very much of it. I think I might have even wet the bed or something because I was dreaming about going to the bathroom in a hurry. That was probably why I dreamt that. Now, a couple days later, we're out to lunch, and sure enough, we need to go to the bathroom really badly. And we looked at each other, and I looked up and I said, "Oh, there's that Kmart over there." I didn't even think about my dream when I suggested it. It was only after I had suggested the Kmart did I realize, oh my God, did I dream about it? And I told my parents, hey, I dreamt about this last night. We ran into Kmart to use the bathroom. And my parents didn't believe me. I asked my parents, are dreams like what we do to predict the future? And my parents thought I was being silly about that. We made a run for the bathroom. And as we're running into the store, it dawned on me this is exactly like how we ran in my dream. And we ran into the store and we used the bathroom. We were so relieved. After I had finished using the bathroom, I thought this was another dream. I tried to wake myself up, but sure enough, that was reality. And that was kind of interesting. It had only been 3 days. Some of my dreams take a little bit longer to occur, though. I had dreams of, let's see, I'm trying to think of one that took a long, long time to happen because I know some of them have taken months or years. In 2019, I was grappling with binge eating disorder, and so I had lost a job over binge eating kind of problems. I was in the dream. I was at a conference with my ex girlfriend, not the one that I've been talking about this past month, a different one actually. In the dream, she was now married, and I guess maybe I did. Maybe I'm predicting her marriage sometime. She, in real life, she hasn't gotten married yet. In fact, she might have married herself, if anything. But in the dream, she and her husband were at the conference, and we were getting into the elevator, and I get into the elevator first. I hold the door for the two of them, and she looks at her husband and says, "Don't get into this elevator. He has a disease." And I woke up shaking really badly. I think I had the dream sometime in October, November of 2019. I was grappling with binge eating problems. I had just lost a job. I had ruined a vacation over it. And so I was ready to change my ways. So 2020, I made a resolution. I had already started making headway before 2020 even rolled over. But in 2020, I made one of my resolutions was to normalize my relationship with food. And so I remember at first the biggest challenge was I forgot how to do anything without munching away. Right, I'd be grading papers. I was teaching at Washington Technology University. I'd be grading papers, and I get my stack of papers. Oh, where's my chips? It was weird. I didn't physically need them in my mouth, but it was like there was a gap in the activity, right? And so I'd be driving in my car. Oh my God, where's my burger, right? Or whatever, right? It was kind of weird that my sausages. I used to eat a lot of kielbasa sausages, and it was kind of weird. I knew I didn't need them in order to drive a car, to grade papers, to watch a YouTube video, to record a YouTube video, to chat with my girlfriend online. I knew I didn't need the food to do that, but it felt like there was a gap. Well, God kind of gave me a real nice late Christmas present. We had to change all of our routines, and that made it really easy to change my eating habits as well. And in my dream, my girlfriend was trying to stay 6 feet away from me in the elevator, and it came to pass. And that was really nice. That was really, really nice. Obviously, it wasn't the best way that God could make me change my routines. Obviously, a lot of people died, a lot of people lost their jobs, obviously, but it was one way to do it, right? And that was really nice. If we didn't have the events of 2020, I don't know how I would have changed my eating habits. There were so many times I'd get ready to do something, and it's like, I can't do this without my favorite food. It was like an association. And I read a lot of people use the opportunity to quit smoking or to quit using various things. I think that was a perfect opportunity to do that. I wish I had taken advantage of it more. The reopening was also a huge opportunity to make changes too, because once again, if you develop bad habits during quarantine and you no longer have the quarantine routines, it made it easier. So I took advantage of both sides of it, actually, both the lockdowns and the reopenings, if I had to be honest with myself. So that was good. But a lot of my dreams end up coming true eventually. Some of them take a little bit longer than others, and I've been having a lot of dreams revolving around becoming a billionaire as of late. I dreamt that silver hit $60,000 an ounce. Right, Peter Schitt was talking about it on his podcast. I dreamt that bismuth went up to some crazy amount too. Last night, I dreamt about going viral on a video and making $1 billion. I've had dreams of just inheriting a lot of money somehow. Funny thing is that in my dream, I never seem to inherit money from my parents. It's usually somebody I have a very fuzzy relationship with who decides to leave me a fortune. I get really excited when I meet older people who are also solosexual. I had a colleague like that. I try to be really nice to those people because those are the kind of people who might leave me a fortune, right? Uh, some of the people at the board game meetup are also like that, right? Elderly and solosexual. I had one friend at a board game meetup who has type 1 diabetes. He's only about as old as I am, so and it doesn't sound like he wants to network with the right people. So maybe he'll pass before I do. And so I try to be really nice to him, especially, right? And so not my ideal way of becoming a billionaire. And plus, none of these people have a lot of money in the first. It'll just be a bonus, really, not really an inheritance. It'll be a nice chunk of change to reinvest how I want to, right? Uh, I've had dreams about inheritances, medals, art projects, and then the viral video last night. The other thing I like about being optimistic like this is that when you think you might become a billionaire, it probably does increase your odds of becoming a billionaire because you'll sleep a whole lot better, you'll take care of your body a whole lot better, right? And so, right, and so your odds of becoming a billionaire just by thinking that you'll become a billionaire are probably a little bit higher, if not a whole lot higher, than somebody who doesn't feel that way, right? I like to think that every day I go to sleep, the next day I'll be one day closer to becoming a billionaire. I really do think that. I really do. And I'm really optimistic. This is election year that I'm recording this in, right? 2024. Election years tend to bring huge swings to the market, and unfortunately, we haven't had a huge crash. Well, unfortunate, bittersweet that we haven't had a crash this year. The last two election cycles, we had big crashes, and I bought 1,000-ounce silver bar each time. That's become like a tradition for me. That election year, you go buy 1,000 ounces of silver, right? I've been kind of waiting for that. I have some cash saved up for a big crash like that. But this year, it looks like bismuth has kind of replaced the silver for the tradition, right? I bought another ton of bismuth this year so far. I'll probably buy another ton more before the end of the year. So continue to pray that I watch my last video about what I would do if I became a billionaire. Oh, I have a funny story about that, actually. Many years ago, I had a friend online who he and I used to love to watch him, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. It was a hit back then. This was in the early 2000s. He had he had actually signed up for the show, and eventually he got a call back. And I asked him, "What would you do if you won $1 million on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?" And he confessed to me that he had been stealing the cable at his apartment, not paying the bill. What he would do is that he lived with a few people who were in who were just in a row house, and they had wires connected all around the house. They were sharing their cable connection, and it drove him crazy because sometimes his neighbors would do something that would cause the signal to flicker or something like that. He loved his game shows. He would record them on a videotape, and it would really anger him if something happened to the connection. And yet he was stealing the cable. And I asked my friend, "What would you do if you won $1 million?" He said he would stop stealing cable and pay the bill. And I asked him to calculate how long could you pay the cable bill if you had $1 million. And we did the calculation. It was over 1,000 years. And we thought to ourselves, we could go watch the Y3K celebrations at your apartment after you win $1 million and pay the bill. We had just gone through Y2K at this point, and so that was a really exciting time. So I joked with him that we could go watch Y3K. Well, we're 2.5% of the way there from Y2K to Y3K, right? So that's really good to see the progress bar on loading Y3K, like 2.5% there now, right? We're getting there, right? I'll give myself a 10% chance of living to see it. I'm also pretty optimistic on that front too. It's good to be optimistic even on unrealistic things, right? Like living to be 1,000 years old, or becoming a billionaire, or in my recent times, meeting the right person in your life. Every day I go out, I think to myself, today's going to be the day I meet her. And the reason I think that way is that the optimism drives the event to happen, right? Just like if you're optimistic about becoming a billionaire, you'll actually do things to get there, right? So unfortunately, my friend never made it to the hot seat of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, or I guess it could be Who Wants to Be a Billionaire if you adjust for inflation, right? But he promised to have me as a phone a friend, and I remember thinking about getting ready for him to call me and joking about how many months of cable bills he could pay now to make fun of him for stealing the cable. This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum, 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum, 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 bum.